Today we continue our series on the Hebrew alphabet, revealing the Hebrew letters. This is the fourth Hebrew letter, the Dalet. And today with me I've got a very special guest. He holds the Masters of Divinity at the Assemblies of God. He holds BAs. He holds Rhema Bible Institute degrees, and he was raised in a Jewish home. This man knows about the Hebrew letters and the Hebrew customs. You will not want to miss this. This is my good friend, Keith Trump. Keith, how are you doing today, my friend?
It's good to be here.
Great to have you, sir.
Yeah,
so
excellent.
we want to talk today about the Dalet.
Yeah.
And it's the fourth letter in the Hebrew alphabet. Right. It represents a humble man, right? Yeah. So talk to us a little bit about the Dalet here.
So like all the Hebrew letters, which I'm sure you've explained, how they have meaning in themselves. It's not like any other language, right?
Right.
So the question is with the Dalet. Now, what you'll find with these letters is they have many aspects to them. And it confuses people sometimes when they begin to study it. For example, the Dalet is a door or a person that is in need. And so people say, which one is it? Is it the door or a person in need? Well, that's like saying, are you an outgoing person and a smart person? You're both. You see, we have many aspects to us.
That's
and
good.
So do these letters. So we get into trouble when we say it just has this one aspect. But the Dalet is a really fascinating letter. It's actually one of my favorite letters. But what you're going to find is I say that with every letter.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like I'll say this is my favorite verse of the Bible.
I just said that last week.
Okay.
About
absolutely. One of the letters you
Yeah.
mean?
Actually, the bait, because it says one of my favorite ones. Actually, all of them are my favorite.
That's what you run into. That's the way God is. Isn't it? He's just so good.
Absolutely.
So the Dalet is unique in that it corresponds more with another letter. The Dalet corresponds with the letters next to it more than any other letter in the entire Hebrew alphabet.
Yeah.
They all correspond. They're all parts of a whole. But the Gimel and the Dalet, and I'm sure you'll talk about the Gimel. You really can't talk about the Dalet without talking about the Gimel.
Yeah.
It's kind of like trying to talk about the cross without the resurrection or the resurrection without the cross, because they're really sort of one and the same. They're distinct, but they're not separate from one another.
Yeah.
And so the Dalet means a door. And we know that all these letters, and I'm sure you've probably taught this, have meaning by their shape, their name, and their number.
Right.
And so we see the shape of the Dalet, and we see the name of the Dalet. It's a door. It's also a person in need. Now, that's interesting, isn't it? How can it be a person in need, and how can it be a door? Well, it's a door of revelation. It's a door from one level to the next level. And so what we find is, when we say poor, we don't mean poor as in destitute.
Right.
Because people will misquote this verse very often. They'll say, Jesus said, blessed are the poor. No, he said, blessed are the poor in spirit. And what it really means is not those who are saying, I got nothing and I'll never have anything.
Yes.
Because if that's the case, God's not poor.
Right.
Right? What it means is acknowledging your dependence and your need.
That's it.
And so a Dalet is a person who acknowledges their dependence and their need upon God. And the reason it also means a door is because when we are in a time of need and dependency, that's a door for the supernatural to take place. And that's why it corresponds with Gimel, because Gimel is all about a giver.
Yes.
Gimel also means pursuing. I know we're talking about Dalet, but just indulge me for a minute with Gimel.
I explained a little bit of that last week, so you're tying right in with it.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. So Gimel means to pursue, and it also means to be a giver. So what's going on here? Gimel is pursuing the Dalet. When the Bible says all these blessings will come upon you and overtake you, that is when we are in a position of humility and dependence, God's blessings are pursuing us, and they'll actually overtake us.
Wow.
There are so many scriptures that talk about the correspondence of the Gimel and the Dalet. We don't realize it. Seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. Dalet. I'm positioning myself as in humility.
Yeah.
You know, people often say to me, you seem to know a lot, or how do you know all this? Because I'm always a learner.
Come on.
I never say I know it, because if I know it, I've stopped learning.
Yes.
So I'm positioning myself as a Dalet. You can position yourself as a Dalet. And when we do that, what happens is the Gimel pursues us. God, so often we say, we take the position that we have to convince God to bless us, when in reality, his blessings are chasing us. We just have to position ourselves to be that door into which they flow. Another one is... I'll think of some others. There's so many of these verses.
Yeah.
So many of these verses. So Dalet's a door. Dalet means opportunity. And Dalet means a person that is you can say in need, but really acknowledging their dependence upon God. I don't. Should I keep rolling? I don't want to.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely fine.
So, and then Dalet is the number 4, of course, right?
Yes.
Right. What's the big deal about that? Well, 4 is always the number of the earth. Yes. There are 4 seasons. There are 4 direction. There's plant. There's mineral. There's animal. There's human. You see, and so really, what the Dalet is telling us is, in heaven, do we need the blessings? They're already there. We need them on this earth. We need to open the door. Well, Jesus talked about this when he talked about finances pursuing you. He'll open the windows of heaven. Doors and windows, you see, an opening. Same principle. And, here's another one. The Lord's Prayer is a perfect picture of the Gimel and the Dalet. Let me explain. And James talks about it. It's all over the Bible. Yes. James says, when you pray, I can save you time. If you're going to pray in doubt, you're not getting anything. Wow. But there's another side of that coin. If you're going to pray to consume it upon your own lusts, you're not getting it either. Yes. So it's about the heart. It's really about absolutely. The heart. Because you and I see people pray and they say, it's not working or I'm not getting anything. Well, they're probably praying in doubt. Yes. Or they say, no, I'm standing in faith, but they're making it all about themselves. Yes. And so what the Dalet and the Gimel say is this: Our Father who is in heaven, your name, hallowed be your name, your kingdom come. Watch this. Your will yes. be done on earth as it is in heaven. That's Dalet. What's the next verse? Give us this day that provision. That's the Gimel. Wow. So they correspond. Look at that connection there. That's crazy. Isn't that something? and that's the way that it works. So it's God's blessings on the earth. On the earth. And the Gimel is one of those letters that has a dot in it. It's called a dagesh. Yes. But it can have a dot in it, or it cannot have a dot in it. The sages teach us that the dot means coins, blessings, financial provision. Wow. And that financial provision is chasing the Dalet. If you're not a Dalet, it's not chasing you. Wow. You're trying to chase it. And you'll never be satisfied. The Bible says the one that loves silver will never be satisfied with silver. People that chase provision never have enough provision. But people that position themselves to do the will of God and take the position of humility, it overtakes them. Excellent. Now, would you say, that Dalet being a door, yeah. and is there a correlation between that and the bait, which is the habitation, and the door is open on that bait? Yeah. Would you say that the Dalet is the door to the bait? Does it connect that way? Oh, it does. It does. It absolutely does. What you're going to find is the first 5 letters, Aleph, Beit, Gimel, Dalet, Hey, really the first 5 letters, and Vav. Let's stop at Hey. The first 5 letters really correspond well with one another because they're all about our relationship to God as individuals, right? Yes. And then it shifts with Vav. And then you're going to see at Lamed, it shifts again. And we can talk about that later. But yeah, definitely corresponds to the bait. But you asked a specific question about the bait. Can you ask that again? So the bait has an open side to it. So the bait is actually 3-sided and it represents a house or a place of habitation. So I asked if the door, the Dalet being the door, actually is the door to the bait. It is. Okay. Because what you're going to find is all of these things they move back and forth. Do you see that? Fluid. Yes. There's a coming and going. There's a going and returning. And you're going to see that. Yeah, it corresponds to the bait, but the bait's open, right? Watch this. What's after bait is Gimel. Now, I want you to think about this. The Aleph is all about God. We know that. And you've talked about the Aleph. And the bait is all about creation and the house, Bayit, the habitation. What is the next letter after the bait? Aleph, bait, Gimel, and then Dalet. You know what's released out of God's creation? Provision. Come on. And the Dalet the Gimel is a man running. I'm telling you, when God creates something, he loads it with provision. Watch this. And then he turns it loose. Wow. What does he turn it loose for? To create more. Whew. Go, be fruitful, and multiply. See, on the day of Pentecost, what happens? You want to talk about real multiplication. On the day of Pentecost, 5,000 added to the church. Why? Because when creation happens, there's a releasing of provision that takes place. Yes. And that releasing of provision goes through the door of those who are humble. It's amazing how it ties together. Did I tell you, or did I tell you? This guy knows a lot of stuff. And just to throw this in there, where I've learned all of this, the foundations of the Hebrew alphabet and everything was from Keith.
And I highly recommend him and his ministry, Trump of God Ministries, and they do seminars. I want you to talk just for a moment about the Handling Hebrew seminars and the Getting Greek seminars.
Sure, absolutely, absolutely. So these seminars we teach 7 hours. It's a 7-hour seminar. We do it a lot of times in Bible schools or in churches, and it's very common when we do this to get pastors from all over the city, different types of churches. This is one of the things I like about what they do at Northview Church, the church you're associated with, the church your dad pastors. He's telling me we have this pastor from this type of church, that type of church at their prayer meetings. Yes. That's awesome. That's kingdom-minded. So that's the way it looks, and we often do it over 2 days, like a Friday night and then a Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon. But what we're doing is we're taking people with little, they can have no knowledge, either no knowledge or oftentimes people, I chuckle at this, but oftentimes people will come in and think they know something. They'll be like, man, I have a lot to learn. And that's the way we all want to be. That's the Dalet.
Yes.
Staying humble.
Absolutely.
And so little or no knowledge of the Hebrew language or Greek. We do it for Greek as well. And they'll leave that seminar with a basic understanding of the way that it works. Now with the Hebrew seminars, it's distinct because the Hebrew alphabet is it's unlike any other alphabet.
Right.
So we spend 90% of the time just on the alphabet, which is what we're doing now because it's so powerful.
But that's the foundation. When you taught me that, when I went to that seminar, you gave us a foundation, but you said you need to continue learning because you've only scratched the surface.
Absolutely.
And so that's why I took that seriously.
Yeah.
And what's funny is now people call me the Hebrew guy.
That's great.
I mean, it's amazing because before I knew nothing.
Isn't that awesome?
And we're talking just a few years ago.
Yeah.
And so what you taught is so important because it opens up the Bible in such a way that it comes alive even greater.
Yeah.
And so just real quick, how do people get a hold of you? How do pastors and people get a hold of you to attend these seminars and have them at their churches?
Sure. So the way they do that is if they just go to trumpofgod.org. Trumpofgod.org is our overall ministry website. Because what we're doing is we're doing church planning, we're doing Hebrew seminars.
Because you're a pastor as well.
Yes. I pastor the church that we founded in Carmel, which is just a suburb of Indianapolis.
Yes.
But we're planting churches in Virginia, a church in Virginia, in Maryland, in Florida, in Mississippi, of all places. These are interesting. Like why from Florida to Mississippi, in Michigan and in Pennsylvania. So our work's cut out for us. But in addition, so I say that to say we have to have this overarching ministry that's doing all these things.
Yes.
We're doing Hebrew seminars, we're doing Greek seminars. So it depends on what they want. If they want a general picture for our ministry, go to trumpofgod.org.
Okay.
They can also go there and it will link them to anything else we're doing. It'll be very clear how to get there.
Okay.
But if they want Greek teaching, gettinggreek.org. If they want Hebrew teaching, handlinghebrew.org.
But trumpofgod.org
is the overall website.
Overall. So you need to go to trumpofgod.org to find out more about this ministry. And if you go there, you can find out more about the other branches of that.
You can find
it. Trumpofgod.org. I'm going to put it up here so people know.
Absolutely. That's where they go. And that'll link them to anything else we do. Now, the Hebrew seminars we do on site, on location.
Okay.
Same thing with the Greek seminars. And chances are, now with the crazy COVID thing, it's just crazy. But chances are we'll be in their area, because we're from coast to coast, east and west, north and south.
Yeah.
We're in Canada a lot. We're all types of countries.
International.
Yeah, definitely international. But we're working on an online component, to where they can go online and take the seminar as well. So,
very good.
So yeah, that's coming.
Trump of God Ministries. Trumpofgod.org is where you go to find out more information. We've been talking about the letter Dalet today. It's been a phenomenal time here with my friend Keith Trump from Carmel, Indiana. And I appreciate you and appreciate you watching this entire video. You made it the whole way. Until next time, though, God bless. Please be sure to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and ring that notification bell so you can receive updates for when new content arrives. Also, be sure to visit our website at gbreaker.org. From there, you can learn more about Groundbreaker International, and if the Lord leads you to do so, you can sow a financial seed of blessing. Now, I would like to invite you to check out one of these other videos from Groundbreaker International's YouTube channel. Until next time, God bless.